results with Radio 1.
Divine Purpose Care Residential Services presents their Support Our Senior Community event Saturday, September 14th at Barnes United Methodist Church, located at 900 West 30th Street in Indianapolis. This Divine Purpose Care Residential Services special event is dedicated to seniors and their families. Discover valuable services, resources, and support available in our community. Remember, this is a free event and is open to everyone interested in needing to learn more about senior services. Plus, don't miss your chance to enter to win great prizes. Come to Divine Purpose Care Residential Services Saturday, September 14th at Barnes United Methodist Church, 900 West 30th Street from 12 noon until 4 p.m. That's Saturday, September 14th at Barnes United Methodist Church, 900 West 30th Street from 12 noon until 4 p.m. You and your family will discover valuable services for senior citizens and family members. Support our senior community. You will be blessed.
WTLC AM, W236CR, Indianapolis. Get ready for a whole new level of inspiration, Indianapolis. Tune in to Praise AM 1310, 95.1, Indy's inspiration station, and let your spirit soar. And say that what we need for unity in the community. Get on up, yeah, and stand at one.
All right. Good afternoon, Indianapolis, Central Indiana, and different places across America and around the world. Thank you for tuning in on this afternoon. Unity in the community, where we talk about community issues, and this show was formatted by Deion Livingston many years ago to deal with community issues from a biblical perspective. And the show has been going for a long time, and it has been a very beneficial show, and you have been very beneficial in tuning in every Saturday. It's beautiful down here on Monument Circle. If you get a chance to come downtown Indianapolis, I think you'll really enjoy yourself. And we've had numerous, I was just telling someone earlier, we have had numerous beautiful days like this. As the seasons are about to change, I think next week we're going to see the changing of the seasons. Fall is just around the corner, although leaves have already been falling from the trees. Things have already been changing. But according to the calendar, which nature really doesn't care about too much. But according to the calendar, the fall season will start, I think, September 21st, something like that. However, it is election season. And we've got a presidential election coming up and some other very important offices to be filled across the state of Indiana and around the United States of America. If you'd like to be a part of our show today, 317-972-3008, 317-972-3008. Again, that number is 317-972-3008. We'd love to have you on the show with us on this afternoon. Also want to encourage you to listen to Tina Cosby Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. on the Community Connection news you can use. That's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Tina Cosby from 1 to 3 p.m. I think you will really enjoy the show. Have a very special guest with me, going to be bringing on here in just a few moments. And I want to encourage you to get out and enjoy this beautiful weather. You know, in the Midwest, we won't have that much sunshine. In fact, by the time you get off work in a few weeks, 5:30, 6 o'clock, it'll look like 9 o'clock at night. And that's kind of the way it is. But vitamin D is what you get from the sunshine. One of many things, but at least vitamin D. So when you get out there and you walk a little bit, or just sit by a tree or get out in nature, if you're able to do some boating, cycling, different things like that, it is good for your body. No man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourish it and takes care of it. You are your best healthcare provider, so take care of yourself. We've got some folks streaming with us, so if you are listening by the radio and you want to see who's saying what they're saying, you can. by getting online, my Facebook page, James William Jackson, also the Praise Indie Inspiration Station Facebook page, and YouTube. So join us in crystal clear color and sound. I have a very special guest. He really needs no introduction. Dion Livingston, our general manager, told me a few months ago that with the acquisition of news stations and so on and so forth, this radio station is now reaching about 85% of the Black community.
Oh.
And I think we're about 28% of Indianapolis, which is nearly 1 million people, 1.2 million in Metroplex, but 85% of the Black community now, this frequency is reaching. So there's some 300,000 Black folks living in Marion County, plus or minus. And so reaching 85% of that number is absolutely amazing. So I said that to say, if you don't know this man, you probably don't live in Indianapolis, or maybe you just moved here, because he is a living legend, and he is involved in behind the scenes. He has been involved in front of the scenes, has helped a lot of people. And I can remember many, many years ago, if you needed some help, if you were dealing with some issues, particularly social issues, then he was the man that of many, but he was one of the primary men that you would be referred to get you out of that trouble, no matter how you got into it. He's always been well connected. He's still very well connected, whether the mayor is a Republican or a Democrat, doesn't really matter. He's still connected, but more so because there is a Democrat in the mayor's office. And certainly been a champion for Black people. I have known him ever since I was 11 years old. That doesn't mean he's really old or anything. I've just known him that long. And he's still vibrant. Joshua said at 85, I can still take my mountain. And this man, I told him I'll meet you at 11:40. He got down here at 11 because he's going to be on Nathan Lee's show. And by the time I got to the door, he had already run to his car and came back. And who does that? But he is just vibrant and incredible and smart. He is extremely smart. They sent me a bio, which I would not have time to read everything that he has contributed. But he is the president of the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Greater Indianapolis, which is a Black historic civic agency, one of the best. He has a Bachelor's of Science, Master of Arts in Religion, Doctor of Ministry from Oral Roberts University. He also has a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from Indiana University Kelley School of Business. Some people talk about being a lifelong learner. Mm-hmm. He is a lifelong learner and still willing to learn. He just got off the air with Nathaniel Lee, who has a national broadcast, second to none. His affiliations, he is a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. He's proud of that too. He's also he has at role I just mentioned of the president of the wonderful historic Black civic organization, and he is senior pastor of Greater Anointing Fellowship Church of God in Christ, where I was catechized as a young minister, and I would be considered third generation Kojic. However, I pastor a non-denominational church, but I am not ashamed of my roots. Scripture memorization, that came to me from Sunday school, and we had responsive reading. And he has been a champion and a senior pastor in the Church of God in Christ. And he was one of the men that if the bishop needed something done, he would send this man. So I've kind of given you my Howard Cosell introduction of a great man, Dr. Elder, and I can say this, Reverend Dr. Lionel Rush. Because Dr. Rush, a lot of folks who have honorary doctorates will put the doctor in front of their name, and that's fine. But in theological circles, we understand that you only do that when you have earned it. and then your Reverend Doctor, because it's a lot. I'm working on my dissertation now, and it's just one paper, but it's the most difficult one to get done and all of the steps to go through. So we have so much time to be with you, and I've spent a lot of time introducing you. Welcome to the program. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And as my friend that was sitting in your chair before you got here, Willie Frank Middlebrook used to say, checks in the mail.
and thank you. And I also want to say to you, when I was considering running for mayor of Indianapolis, we were at my church for some event, and we were sitting in the back, and you were handling business. I won't go into what business you were handling, but you were successful in the business. I don't know if you remember that, but yes, you have a brilliant mind. But you were handling some business on the phone, and that business actually came to fruition without going into the details, and just to talk about the kind of influence you have. But I told you that I was going to do that, and you said, well, you said, I'll tell you what President Obama used to say, do what's politically pragmatic, which I didn't. But I remember that sage advice. And you're here to talk about, since I did mention that, politics, you're here to talk about the importance of voting. There's an event coming up at Martin University. So before we start talking about that, just kind of say something to our audience, encourage our audience. We're in a presidential election. We've just on the other side of a debate between former President Donald Trump and current Vice President Kamala Harris.
We are at a fraught moment in history. And since we're talking politics, this nation has existed for 248 years. But you need to study nations, the rise of nations and the fall of nations, to understand what makes them fall. This nation has a mantra: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they're endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, among which is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The issue is, what does men mean? Mm-hmm. Does it mean human beings? Does it mean all human beings? Does it mean white men? When the Europeans got here, this nation was populated by 100% Indios, Indians, Native Americans. Today, that number is 2%. If Kamala and Tim Walz win, I'm to understand the first time ever in our history will there be a Native American governor. 248 years. Mm-hmm. So you need to understand the back and forth and the flow to understand where you are right now. In this last 248 years, in terms of numbers, it's always numbers. Black folks that were imported, there were no slaves, they were artisans and thinkers that were enslaved. They went to 35% of the population. So therefore you got this ideal of 3/5 human. That was not to benefit Black people who had their Mago Day. That was to benefit the Southern farmers as they competed with the Northern industrialists. Always has been numbers and policies. It was the slave codes before then. 1808, you can no longer import people in the Middle Passage, but you had breeding farms. 1858, Plessy versus Ferguson. 1861, of all of the wars that you've ever had in America, From 1861 to 1865, you lost 1 million. You never lost 1 million. And you lost 1 million about who's going to pick cotton and who's going to be controlled. 1875, Reconstruction stopped. Here come the rules again, Jim Crow laws, interposition and nullification. 1955, woman don't get off the bus. King is brought down there, and in 1963, 63, Kennedy's killed in 65 and 60. You get the Civil Rights Act, once again controlling the law. It's always been about numbers and policy. So now here you are, 2024, first ever woman, first ever Black woman, possibility of being elected president. What happened when the first Black man was, he won.
And without a primary.
And without a primary. He won 2008. And immediately, not in Massachusetts, but in Arizona, comes the Tea Party. What the cat does the Tea Party mean? That's supposed to be a financial arrangement, but it never was about finance. You scare the bejeepers out of me. You just elected a Black man as president. Barack Hussein Obama won Indiana. But it's not likely anymore because it's been ramped up. But now the consequences are much, much greater because ever since this man came down the golden escalator, one thing is no longer Willie Horton. When Ronald Reagan was running for president, he went to Philadelphia, Mississippi. When George Bush, went for Willie Horton. So it's always been that race baiting. But now it's not a race whistle, it's a foghorn out here. Real intimidation, real fear, but something else. Love white privilege so much that they're willing to jump the whole democracy and choose autocracy over that, over democracy. So all of us, I'm an ex-paratrooper. My brothers, there's 10 of us, 7 of us served. We've seen death.
Let me ask you, Dr. Rush. You mentioned in that war, that Civil War, that happened so long ago, lost 1 million. And with former President Trump stating there would be a bloodbath if he didn't win, with the assassination attempt on his life. And with 9/11, which just passed, Donald Rumsfeld had said, and he's dead and gone now, but he said it was a failure of imagination. Nobody imagined that something like that could happen, so we didn't prepare for it, or we were ill prepared for it. And he was the Secretary of Defense at the time. Is it fathomable that something like that could happen in the United States of America? We saw what happened January 6th. Is it possible? You talked about the losing of the 1 million over who was going to pick cotton and the struggle now over the Oval Office. Is that something that is just past imagining could happen in the United States of America in the 21st century?
This is my response. Look at human history. African nations stood, Egypt fell. Hellenistic nations under Philip II of Macedon, Alexander the Great, rose. He was assessed, he was killed, and 4 of his generals took over. The Romans came. The Romans ran things until the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths come down and beat the daylights out of them. They fell. So the easy answer is nations rise and nations fall.
Which is also biblical.
Which is also biblical. So we understand that. Now, the question, though, there is a moral component attached to it. I believe the Bible. I really believe the Bible. I believe Deuteronomy 28. If you will keep my rules and keep my laws, the following things, blessings shall come over and mug you. Blessed shall you be when you go out. Blessed shall you be when you go out. You will be the head and not the tail. And if you don't, the inverse of that would happen. And without going too far with that whole piece, that's true. When people start talking about we the chosen people, chosenness means you have a responsibility, fool. It does not mean you got a badge of courage. And so you're a paradigm, you're an example that God said, I'm going to go through you. So the short answer to that is we're at a fraught moment now. And I need us to understand what's really at work and what's really at play. There is no such thing as Christian nationalism. That's an oxymoron. You can be Christian or you can be nationalistic, but you can't be both at the same time. So here's the issue. I don't care how people grab themes. You can't put Coca-Cola in a 7-Up bottle and make it and make it 7-Up. It's still Coca-Cola. So the issue is this. We have to look at where we are right now and decide, do you want to be a democracy? And if you want to be a democracy, it does not matter if James Jackson is president, or it does not matter if George Bush is president. We got the same rules. Do you want to be a democracy? If you are a wide receiver for Miami and in a car and they stop you and handcuff you, or if you're a white man that got 91 felonies, the same law should apply to everyone. The minute that doesn't happen, then you are in danger of losing your grip, your democracy, your nation, and all of that. The issue, the fundamental issue is you got to walk it like you talk it or you lose it. That's the fundamental issue with America right now. And that's there from the time we got here to the time when I was doing my doctoral work out at Oral Roberts. I tell this story. I was flying out and I went in a Walmart once. I went in a Walmart and I saw these people. I said, they sure look different. Who are these people? Who are these people? Come to find out they were Native American. I'm from Indiana. I'm from Indianapolis. The Greek word polis, the place of. The Spanish word indios. Looks like God. You have, with typical New and Title II and all of them, you have moved all of the indigenous people to Oklahoma and these other places. I don't even know them. So, and you can't say we got sanctioned by God to do that. So my issue is right now, the short answer is, do you want to be a democracy? And do all the people want to have a democracy? If so, then in this instance, there's one thing. The Supreme Court is not going to save you at this point. History is not going to save you. You got one thing in 50-something days. You got to get your tail up. You got to go out there and you got to vote in ways that people that are antithetical to free and fair elections cannot either say it's rigged or I'm going to send it to the court. You got to knock this. You don't need a decision. You need a technical knockout.
All right. With that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have more with our very special guest, Dr. Reverend Lionel Rush, when we come back.
I'm sorry, I got a little carried away there.
It's time to celebrate 40 amazing years of the Circle City Classic Parade. Join Praise Indy and Real Alternatives on Saturday, September 28th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon as we light up the streets of downtown Town, Indianapolis. Don't miss the dazzling pageant-free celebrities, stunning floats, and the marching band from North Carolina Central and Norfolk State. This is the parade you don't want to miss. Brought to you by Real Alternatives, empowering women for life. Free pregnancy support services. Celebrate 40 years of the Circle City Classic Parade with Praise AM 1310, 95.1 FM, Indy's Inspiration Station.
Clarify, I'm not sure all your audience is going to know about Christian nationalism, because there's a number of individuals right now.
We are
I was
celebrating
listening
Black
this morning, you got
excellence
the
in
American.
every way.
Maybe we can put something out there to say that, and if they get a clear understanding of not just what you're pumping on television, but what it's saying. That's up to you guys.
No, I love it, but I'm trying to take my clean because I'm on his show,
That's right.
and I don't want to.
Eskenazi Health is looking for dedicated professionals who have a passion for their community. Named as one of the best employers in the state by Forbes magazine.
Yeah.
And the #1 health system in Indiana for community benefits by the Lown Institute. Eskenazi Health provides excellent benefits, competitive pay, and unwavering leadership support. Learn how a career at Eskenazi Health can benefit you by visiting eskenazihealth.edu/careers.
To be vibrant and
attention all Hoosiers. A historically important election is headed our way. The time to prepare for the election is now. Are you registered to vote? Do you have a plan to vote? The Indiana Secretary of State's office wants to remind you, registering to vote or updating your registration is fast, easy, and convenient online at IndianaVoters.com.
Think about all
You
those
must be
battles.
registered 30 days before election day.
Right out
So
there.
get registered
We
and
stopped
get out
the
to
whole
vote. This message is sponsored by the
right
Indiana
out there.
Secretary of State's office.
Over
It's Dr. Kyle here
police
for
action
Transformative
shooting,
Family Dentistry. Here at Transformative Family Dentistry, we're
the young
changing how
white
people in
man
Indianapolis feel
that was a
about going to the
bartender.
dentist. It's not just our
We
top-tier
stopped,
work,
shut
our
the whole
latest
parade
technologies, and superstar staff that
But
makes us
think
great.
about all those
We provide
fights
judgment-free,
and-
personalized care and a
and
safe
trying to
and comfortable
understand
space where your unique needs and care
what
come
was the
first.
meaning,
Go
what was
to
the breadth of them. And right
transformdentistry.com to
now,
learn
you're
more
just
and book your first appointment.
Imagine
I'm Dr.
this.
Kyle Ratliff, and I cannot wait to help you
242
transform
million
your smile.
Americans
What's wrong? My
willing
travel
to
rewards
jump
card
this
didn't earn
whole
enough miles
country
for my vacation.
and follow
Are you crying? Are you crying because of that other credit
Viktor
card?
Orban
Well, switch to the Capital One
over
Venture
one
card.
issue.
Venture
But
lets you
why am I
redeem miles
surprised?
on any travel
If you
purchase.
send your
Really?
sons,
Yep, and you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase
the war
every
in Vietnam
single
is
day. The
58,000
Capital One Venture card.
were killed.
What's in your wallet?
World War
Terms
II,
apply. See CapitalOne.com for
a
details.
million people died
I'd
on
rather
this
ride a
issue.
bike with my kids.
That's how important this issue is.
I'd rather play fetch with my dog than get
Of white
pneumococcal
dominance and
pneumonia.
white supremacy.
Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20,
Examine
pneumococcal
those
trivalent
codes.
conjugate vaccine. A
And
Pfizer
so
vaccine
when
that
they
can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia
Trump's
in
talking that
just
loud
one
about
dose. If you are 19 or older
about,
with certain chronic conditions like heart disease or asthma, you
he's
are
talking
at
about a
increased
certain
risk
kind of
for
immigration.
pneumococcal
It's
pneumonia.
always,
Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may
Every
depend on a
year,
supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20
the
if you've had a
ethnic groups
severe
in
allergic reaction
America,
to the vaccine or its
for the
ingredients.
first
Adults with
100
weakened
years,
immune
they were
systems may have a
British.
lower response to the vaccine.
English.
Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache,
1910
muscle, and joint
to
pain. For full
1930,
prescribing information, please call
German, more German.
1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I'd rather
1923,
race for some ice cream. Let's go.
the
Schedule your
1% got
vaccination today
together
at
and started talking about
Prevnar20.com.
Is your pet
we
a
don't
digging
need
enthusiast,
people
an
of
escape
color.
artist, or a
And
counter
so they
surfer?
start doing
Invisible Fence Brand has you
eugenics.
covered. For the wannabe
And
landscaper,
so all
we've
these
got a
codes
solution
are
to
about
keep them
that
active
gave
but
them the
not
philosophic
destructive.
precursor
For the escape artist, our
to
personalized
disability
pet
laws.
fences keep them safe and sound at home. Counter surfer? No problem. We know how to keep cheese thieves at bay. Invisible Fence Brand. Tailor-made solutions for your pet, your yard, and your needs. Visit invisiblefence.com today.
All right, welcome back to Unity in the Community. And if you're streaming, you got to hear some of our off-air chatter too. But it's good to have you with us, whether you're listening on the radio, AM 1310, 95.1 FM, Indy's Inspiration Station, or if you're streaming with us, James William Jackson, also the Praise Indy Facebook page and my YouTube channel, James William Jackson. Also, be sure to join me Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m. for First Hour Prayer. I've also started a digital community, and that's the thing that's trending now, folks owning their own communities. And I've got two of them, one for the Fervent Prayer Church and one for the First Hour Prayer digital community on the School, SKOOL platform. It is an amazing platform, and I hope that you will become a member of both of my communities. Reverend Dr. Lionel Rush. We've got an event coming up, because if we get to talking about politics, we won't talk about this event.
We're gonna go off the rail. You're right.
So let's talk about this event that's coming up.
Hey everybody, come on and meet us at Martin University Sunday, September the 29th, 3 to 7. Dr. Jackson would have preached his sermon and let his folks out, and all of you all can join us. I'm looking at a pastor over here. He's a great pastor of the Ellen Chapel AME Church. He's a great pulpiteer and amanuensis, first class theologian. He's a well, forget all that. But anyway, I'm just telling you. Dr. Macon, you want to say hello to everybody?
A very pleasant good afternoon, and I am very impressed with your program, and I thank you so very much, Dr. Jackson, for giving us this opportunity. I say Dr. Jackson because you're going to get it, brother.
Thank you. You can stay on with us, so keep that mic ready.
Yeah, keep that mic. Now, you're an AME guy. You in the Interdenominational Minister Alliance. We've been working hard on a number of issues. When you're in the Interdenominational Minister Alliance, you got to deal with Lottie Dottie and everybody, and you got to deal with a myriad of things. The Black Church, the Interdenominational Minister Alliance, has existed in 1907. Luminaries. Anybody ever heard of Andrew J. Brown? Anybody ever heard of Moselle Sanders? Yeah. We got some bad boys that come up with it. We standing on the shoulders of great luminaries and men, and the great, what the text said, we are compassed about with a great
crowd of
witnesses, and they understand, telling us to fight on. And so we fight on the 29th of this month. We're going to Martin University. Shout out to Martin University. Here's what I don't understand, y'all, and I'll get back on this. Because I was down there at Spelman and Morehouse and ITC in Atlanta and Tougaloo College and St. Augustine. How can everybody else in the United States of America lift up Black schools, but we are pooting and scooting with Martin University, 6 million people in Indiana and 1.5 in Indianapolis and 900,000. We're 27% of the population. We need to be able to fill Martin. That's another thing. I'll come back with that. Okay, let me just say
that's important.
Martin University, empower the vote, rock the vote. That's what we're going to do. Rock the vote. We're going to rock the vote. We're going to educate. We're going to volunteer. We're going to register to vote. So, but here's what I love about it, Dr. Jackson. The NAACP is on board with Crystal. Robert Segal, a good Kappa man, president of the Ricardo, he's on board. We've been talking about it. Martin over there, Sean is on Indianapolis Urban League, Madam Walker, Telemundo 109, and the Exchange, and the Interdenominational Ministerial Line. We're coming together.
That's a good group.
This is a good group, but we're compelled by necessity. We got to do this. Can't help us, y'all. We got to come together because we are looking at the signs, and we say we need to come together to rock the vote. And that day, you're going to be able to meet the candidates. Matter of fact, on the way over, we just got off the phone with some of the leaders in the party. And by the way, many of our organizations, as is your church, are 501c3. So we have to take the Shirley Chisholm approach. We have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies, just permanent issues. And whether you're riding the elephant or the donkey. What we're trying to say to our people, get out and vote. It's important. People have died for this right. My daddy told me a story one time. He said to me, hey, Lionel, said, boy, when I was coming up in Burkeville, Kentucky, they had this man, they wouldn't let him vote. And so he had to go through this whole thing. Said, how many bones in the body? He said 208. Said, what's branches of mathematics? Trigonometry, calculus. He said, how many stars? He said, 32,659,892,563. He said, how do you know, Bob? He said, if you don't believe me, count them. So, you know, I think that with all that our people have gone through, it is important that we honor their memory and stand on their shoulders. If you want to change anything, we've been fighting a long time. At 146th Street, life expectancy is 81 years. Right down here where we are now on Washington Street, life expectancy is 14 years less. Every mile you come down, life expectancy is less. That happens because of policy. Bill Crawford used to say to me, hey, the L. Rush, there's not one black business that hire 100 people, 10-story tall. I said, Bill, you crazy. He said, man, just show me. That happens because of policy. A $26 trillion economy, black folks, 4% of that, that's policy. And policy is changed when we vote. We must be engaged. We must vote. So it's important to come out.
And the last day for registering to vote, 29 days before the election, will be October 7th.
Yes, sir.
By 4:30 p.m. So you still have time, but don't let that stop you from getting on top of that. Because a lot of times you say, well, you know, it's October 7th, still some time before that. But if you're not registered to vote, be sure that you do that. And it's easier now in Marion County because you can vote anywhere. I remember, Dr. Rush, you had to vote right there close to where you lived at. So you either had to get up early in the morning before you went to work, or as soon as you got off work, you had to run and try to vote before 6 o'clock or the polls closed. But now you can vote at any voting station across the county. So this great event that's taking place at Martin, Empower the Vote, Reverend Dr. Rush has given us the particulars of what's happening. There's going to be a bipartisan candidate meet and greet to educate, volunteer, get you registered, and activate you to vote. You know, Reverend Dr. Rush, it's interesting. We have just south of 643,000 registered voters in Marion County. During presidential elections, between 50 to 62% of the folks who are registered to vote do vote. And that's everybody. That's all ethnic groups. But among us as Black folks, a lot of times we don't come out and we don't avail ourselves to this wonderful opportunity that we have, as you said, so many have died for, to go out and vote. What would you say to the people who say, well, you know, my vote doesn't count? And I hear that a lot. They say, well, my vote's not going to count anyway, so I'm not going to do it. What would be your response?
Well, that's incorrect. The margins are so thin that every vote counts. In order for either party to win, the dynamics of the political landscape is bent toward one party over the other party. It's always been about numbers, hasn't been about issues, hasn't been about history. It's always been about numbers. Your vote count. We have 2 senators in Georgia that squeaked by. After a hard fought, we have a Jewish senator and a Black senator in Georgia. Barack Obama won North Carolina. We have never won that again. And Barack Obama won Indiana. And he did that because he didn't take for granted. Usually the Democrats go Lake County, St. Joe County, Ellen County, Marion County, Vigo County, and 1 or 2 others. and then they lose 90-10 in all the rest of the counties. I love the way the election is going now. Every vote is important. Go to where people don't even like you. They don't even know you, and tell them, I'm going to be the leader for everyone. And even if you lose 60-40, many of those counties only have 3,000 or 4,000 people in them. You just told me this county has 1 million people in it. 6 million people in the state, 1/6 is right here. So if you combine those counties that will work with you that I just mentioned, and then don't lose as badly in some of those other counties, it's good math, but it's good ethics anyway. State who you are and what you are, and everyone should come out and vote. And then, you know, your vote is your voice. If you don't vote, then shut up.
And with that, we'll take a break. We'll be back after these messages.
November 5th is right around the corner, Indiana. It's time to make a difference, and we have the power to make real change. Don't sit back. Get out and make your one vote count. The voter registration deadline in Indiana is October 7th, and early voting begins October 8th. Key issues in every election increasingly relate to your day-to-day life. Stand up for your beliefs and values this election season and get out and vote. Not happy about the current state of affairs in our country? But why don't you do something about it? Vote early beginning October 8th. Use your voice and take a stand. Exercise your right to vote and participate in the political process. Vote early beginning October 8th and stand up for what you believe in. Remember, there's power in numbers. We can impact outcomes and change the debate. Take a stance and get out and vote. Voting is one of our most important rights as citizens in the United States. It's now our turn to stand up and vote to preserve that right and to honor those who went before us. Sponsored by Urban One.
Attention Indiana Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care with help preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid instantly. It's all through Medicaid and 100% free to you. Call now to check your eligibility. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 5,000 five-star Google reviews, we perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. This service is free to you through Medicaid, and with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid instantly. So go to freedomcare.com or call 463-289-5419. That's 463-289-5419. 463-289-5419.
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with Oxy. And for
Get ready, Indianapolis. It's time to celebrate 40 years of culture, pride, and unforgettable football action. On Saturday, September 28th, it's the 40th annual Circle City Classic inside Lucas Oil Stadium. This year, catch the battle of HBCU powerhouses. North Carolina Central University's Eagles going head-to-head with Norfolk State University's Spartans. Who's ready for that classic HBCU football intensity? And to celebrate 40 amazing years, the Circle City Classic is giving back. Buy one ticket, get one free. That's right, a special BOGO offer while supplies last. Grab your crew and let's fill Lucas Oil Stadium with that classic energy. Get your tickets now and let's make history at the 40th annual Circle City Classic. For tickets and more info, head to the events page at PraiseIndy.com.
All right, we're back. AJ's on the controls, and it is a beautiful day here in the city of Indianapolis. Thank you for joining us. AM 1310, 95.1 FM The Light, and those of you who are streaming with us. Dr. Rush.
Yes, sir.
Folks still have time to register. Early voting is from October the 8th to November the 4th. Things are really, really ramping up. Another thing that's interesting, I think, and we've got this great event, which we're going to recap this in just a few moments. But when former President Donald Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, she won the popular vote, but he got the Electoral College, which 276 Electoral College votes, you get the presidency. It could be a repeat of that. And there was a lot of fuss over the Electoral College back then. And people said they needed to change it, need to get rid of it. So a lot of time has passed. That's still in place. I understand why it's in place. I think we both understand that. So how does, in your mind, how does that work? How does the opponent, if you will, get the Electoral College? Even if, let's say, Vice President Kamala Harris got the popular vote.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Because history is on her side where that's concerned.
I'm sorry?
History is on her side.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the first Black woman, the first woman to possibly be president of the United States.
History, there's an opportunity for history to be on her side, but history militates against her when you consider the fact that in 248 years, there's never been a woman president. And in 248 years, there's never been a Black woman president. And in 248 years, there's never been a Black and Caribbean and Indian woman president. Now, having said all of that, you have posed the question of questions. And that is, what is the Electoral College? Why was it instituted? What is its purpose? Why is it there? On the one hand, you said we hold these truths that all men are created and we the people. So it would seem that if there was a real Madisonian democracy, it is the voice of the people. Well, the Electoral College skews that and puts it in the hands of another process, because there are 342 million documented Americans, probably 360 million Americans, and each one of them would have the formula 1/352 million. But that's not the case, because in terms of all the things that benefits Americans, it's not the case. It's not usually blue states contribute more and red states are takers, even though that they would say it's Black folks and it's the immigrants that are takers. So the math does not meet out. But how are we here? We're here about control. It's all about control. Everything's about control. I said it before. Of the 342 million Americans, most of the population of America is between New York and Missouri. The Rocky Mountains is there, won't allow the rain to come, so the ground in Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota is not arid, so people can't live there. Of the other 20%, most of those people, 12% of those people live in California, Oregon, and Washington. But all of them got 2 senators. Every one of them got 2 senators. They do the same trick with the Electoral College. As you understand that, and then they say, the only way you can get a Supreme Court justice is got to go through the Senate. Well, you control the Senate. So then they say, this is our process. In order to beat it, you got to do, it's what Black people have been able to do all their lives. This year, I think 17 Black quarterbacks started. I remember a time when they said that position was a thinking position in Black folk.
There were none.
There were none. 17 Black quarterbacks. I watched the Olympics from Finland and everything. I see all them Black people out there. So all of that was a lie. So here's the deal. We understand that it's skewed against us, but you got to fight the fight that's ahead of you. In order to change the number on the Supreme Court, in order to change massively that it's unfair with the Electoral College, you got to win. So this time you got to come out. You got some things against you. History militates against you. Never been a woman and all that sort of thing. But this time we were blessed with a man with 91 felonies. We were blessed with a man that got his hands on what happened with J6. We're blessed with a man that his generals are calling him a lunatic, and everybody he served with said, I'm abandoning ship. So you get Dick Cheney and those people are saying, I'm going to go for Kamala. It's lined up right now that if we do our work, we can get this woman in, and we can bring the kind of principles that make this nation live up to its creed, that all men are created equally. And so you got to win first. And you can maybe do something about the Supreme Court. You got to do something about this terrible skew with the Electoral College. That's where we are right now.
All right, we got some folk who have been calling. Let's get these folks in here. Larry, thank you for holding. Welcome to the program.
Reverend Dr. Rush, James Jackson, and the other guests in there. Hey, look, you're right, Lionel. It's all about numbers. And you know what the deal is? I was down at the sorors over at the convention center. They were in their worship, and they said that 40% of our babies are being aborted right now. How are you going to build any political power when your women are aborting 40% of their population? Since Roe versus Wade, over 19 million Black babies have been aborted. We mentioned about the late-term abortion. Go online to Opening Line. That's an organ procurement place. They take fetuses, cut them up, and sell them. The pricing and everything is on there. So Donald Trump was right when he said that they wait till the baby's 9 months gestated. All these billboards around town, that's what those are all about, your options. So how can you say that Kamala Harris is thinking of anything when one of her main things is to kill your baby? I mean, not gun violence is killing our young men. You know what's killing them? Abortion is killing them. Abortion is killing them. 20% homosexual, 70% of them infected with HIV. So how do you square that with being a reverend and a pastor and a man of God, that you would say that some woman is promoting the murder of 40% of your babies and have promoted the murder of over 19 million innocent babies? I mean, I seen some babies the other day, Pastor Jackson. They hadn't done anything to anybody. They don't deserve to be snatched out of the womb, to have their brains sucked out and be cut up to be used on as body parts. So, you know, I can't fathom it. I mean, the women, the Black women, the professional women that were over this thing with Kamala Harris, the lady that was on there on the debate, she was one of her sisters. So, you know, Lionel, I think you're wrong on this one. And I think that what they're promoting is the human sacrifice and sacrilege in our community. And if people go for it, then God's not going to take a good look at that. He's given us a chance to repent and come out of our filthiness and sin. We need to do that.
All right, Larry, thank you for your call and comment. I'm going to get Guy in here real quick and then give Reverend Dr. Rush an opportunity to have the last words here. Guy, welcome to the program.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Good.
Glad to hear you got that former U.S. paratrooper on, Brother Lionel Rush, and he's talking some good things. The former person that was talking, he tends to exaggerate the wrong way, similar to the presidential candidate on the other side of Kamala Harris. They seem to exaggerate, and that's unfortunate, because what we're really talking about, you're talking about women making their own decisions in their own situations. And, you know, I think you guys know in the good book, God says, I'll give you a choice. You can choose life or death or something. I'm paraphrasing. I'll give you life and death or something. Choose or something. That's a paraphrase. But he gives you a choice always, and it's up to the individual person to make the right choice. So I think when the former person that was talking, it's not so much one particular race that's supposedly aborting children. It's women in general, because if you look at the statistics, I think you'll find that most of the abortions are not being done by so-called black women.
All right, got it.
So I just wanted to make that point, and voting is very important. I just wanted to hitchhike on Brother Rush's comments about registering a vote. It's very important. This is the election of the century.
Thank you, sir. We're out of time here, so I always appreciate your call and comment. Reverend Dr. Rush, final comments, please.
Yeah, well, hey, you all, be careful who you get your information from. All of those things come back to one or two issues: abortion and immigration. I'm a Christian, so I follow Jesus, and he grabs Trito Isaiah. He said, the Ruah, the Pneuma of the Lord is upon me, for he has mishak me, he has anointed me to do the following things: set the captive free, undo the burden, and give them beauty for ashes. I'm not concerned about somebody that act like they're concerned about the gestation period of 9 months and call themselves pro-life, but as soon as the baby come out, they want to cut SNAP, they want to cut education across the board, they want to cut health care, they want to cut all that. You're not pro-life, fool. So if that, because pro-life means from birth to the grave, and if you saved and sanctified and filled with the Holy Ghost, you are a thing about even in the eschaton. So life, Zoe, life is all that. So I don't want to hear about all that junk, because you're the wrong messenger.
All right, one more thing. The kind of recap the events coming up, the date, time, where we need to be.
Okay, you all need to be in the house the 29th. The 29th of September from 3 to 7. When you get out of church, shout your way on over here. And you're going to have meet and greet with the candidates. You're going to have education. We're going to not indoctrinate you, but inform you. And we're going to ask you for volunteerism. And we're going to ask you to register to vote. And guess what, y'all? Vote, 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 vote. Okay, that's all I got to say.
That's at Martin University, 2186 North Sherman Drive.
Give that address one more time.
The address to Martin University is 2186 North Sherman Drive.
All right.
In Indianapolis, Indiana.
All right, y'all. We like you. We love you. You make us smile. We'll see you the same time next week.
And come hear this preacher, y'all, because he's a bad man.
Yes, he is. I see why you had to program so long, brother.
That silence,
thank you.
You could have used that to promote your